It's finally happened, folks. All of our hopes and dreams have come true. Jordan has fully taken the deep dive into Mythic Legions after months and probably years of me telling him this is a great line to get into. He's finally listened and he's in. So today we're going to do a ranking of Jordan's top figures. So he's going to rank them all. He's just getting the deep dive, but he's got a substantial list already. So we're going to get to hear his top to bottom list, and we're going to do a giveaway. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota, here with my co-host and fellow Mythic Legion collector, Jordan. Today, like I said, Jordan's given us his ranking of all of his Mythic Legions. You can go back and watch I did a tiers list because I had too many to do, 75 through 1. So I've got a tiers list. Go back and check that out. Today, Jordan's given us his top to bottom list. Before we do, though, it's about time we do this giveaway. This is for Illigar, the Mythic Legion. Little Viking skeleton action for you folks. I really like this one. I like the bearded head. That's my favorite. This was donated to us at Legions Con from a fellow listener, Ryan, Babylon Squared, if you follow him on Instagram. But drum roll, here is, so again, just like we do always, runner-up and then the winner. So if the winner doesn't claim the prize, then the runner-up can claim the prize. You've got about a week before maybe I donate this to Jordan because he doesn't have this
one
yet.
is not on my list, Dakota, because I've not had it. So
then he gets to hold on to it until we do another giveaway and give it away. So hopefully one of y'all claims this because our runner-up is Zulala. So you are the runner-up. Send us an email, claim your prize. If the runner-up doesn't get it, then I will send this out to you. But our winner available to claim the prize is Jack Norris. So Jack, send us an email. Both of you send us an email because then I can, speed it along if it's going to be the runner-up getting it. But I'll get this shipped out to you before New Year's, hopefully. Well, no, I'm going home, so maybe I'll give this to Jordan. Maybe Jordan can get this shipped out to you by New Year's. There we go. So send us an email. We'll get that out to you. And we're going straight from one giveaway into the next. We're going to be giving out a Lady Averona, another figure that you don't own, Jordan, but this is one of my favorite female. Yeah, it's a good one for sure, especially out of kind of the newer female figures. I'd put her towards the top. I did just actually pick up my very top of my list figure that I've always been hunting down, and that's this is Fastia. Got Fastia just this week. Got to open her up later. Need to go take her inside and warm her up. It's a little cold in the bus, but Lady Averona is our next giveaway. In order to win Lady Averona, you must first be subscribed, as always.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Might as well like the video. That's not really required, but we appreciate when you do. And then leave a comment. The comment today is going to be, what is your top Mythic Legion figure in your collection? Number one, if you don't have Mythic Legions yet, what is your figure that you would most want to pick up first? So your number one figure or number one on your wish list.
I'd also take a recommendation on one that I have to get that's not on my list. Sure.
Ooh.
Because then it'll show you watched it. If you watch the video, or at least skim it, you can comment and let me know which figure I need that's not on this list. That's like, Jordan, you got to get this one. Because Dakota gives me good recommendations, but he loves them all. So, you gotta recognize I'm a little more selective in my Legion collecting than Dakota. But I'm willing to grow.
Yeah. This isn't a requirement, but I would give him, if you're going to say you got to get Deltagar or something that's hundreds of dollars, give him another one that's a little bit more realistic as well, if you can. Now, you don't have to. You can. I'll still count you in the giveaway, but we're trying to get Jordan real hooked. So send him some realistic ones too. So anyway, that is the giveaway. I usually say I would give you a couple weeks. We'll do the giveaway when we do the giveaway. So you got some time to enter, but maybe this one will be faster because we got to get these things out of here. taking up room in my bus.
Yes.
Now, Jordan, how many figures do you have on this list?
So roughly, I guess depending on how we count, there's 2 that I have the Furious 4 2-pack, and I did 2 Legion armories. So I don't know if those each count as 2. Even not doing that, I think I'm around 17 or so. So I'm not quite to 20.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But I'm in the mid to late teens. So
okay.
I have it divided. I have my top 5. I'll save those, and then I will just do the bottom half and work my way up.
Okay, I like it.
Okay. So I do have a miscellaneous one. The first one is going to be Alder the Moose, just because I don't know how that fits in, right? Because it's different. Sure. I do love the Moose. That was one of the first ones I think I got. And I still really like the Moose. I think he's behind me right here. So I do like Alder a lot. I don't have much in the way of animals or like horses, so I really just got the Moose. But he's very cool. So I didn't quite know where to put him, if that's fair.
That's understandable. He's a little outside the realm. So
definitely cool, though. Mm-hmm. And then there is one, Dakota. I did a trade recently, and I got the unknown one, which I actually have not gotten a chance to open and play with yet. So stay tuned for my next ranking update when I get him in the list. You're going to want to follow for that episode. But starting, I'm just going to go from the bottom up, okay? So maybe this will surprise people. My last place actually is going to be Red Death of everything I have right now, Dakota. Now, you might be wondering, because, my beginning was these figure obscuras and getting into them. I think Red Death is one that I kind of looked at a little bit. Now that I've gotten back into the Legions, I've been doing more, looking at them, checking them out. I think my biggest critique of him and other figures like this is when they have so much cloth goods. Like, for me, it kind of takes away from the figure itself, because it does make them a little more stiff and like hard to actually pose and see. Even as I've gotten into them, again, maybe it's just mine, but kind of, and I thought this when I first got them, the wrists, the ankle, it just doesn't quite like feel as like sturdy as some of my other Legions. Maybe it's because of the skeletal build, the body. I think it's a cool idea, but I've always felt like he's kind of a little flimsy. And I like the idea again, but I think just as a figure in general, not my favorite.
Okay.
So that's kind of shifted for me.
And that's one that I don't have.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think he's like bad. It's just out of these ones that I'm going through, which ones kind of bring me the most joy, and that's where I'm at.
Somebody's got to be at the top, somebody's got to be at the bottom. That's just the way it works.
I hear that a lot. So I like his head and face thing. That's cool. But just so I'm gonna throw him on there. Working my way up to the next one, I'm actually gonna put another figure obscura here, Dakota, and that's gonna be Saint Nicholas for me. Again, similar feelings. For me, he's mainly just kind of the cloth goods. That's kind of like the biggest thing you get. Which to me, it's just kind of once those are on him, he's kind of just there. I get the skinnier body for Santa to put stuff on him. I would have rather seen them do like a bulkier Santa body and maybe less like tons of cloth goods and like found a way to work that in. Maybe they'll do that later. But I don't think, you know what I mean? Like kind of give him a little more of a burly build.
Yeah.
I think to me would make for a cooler Santa, personally.
I'd totally see, like, because that does seem more like I think their figure obscuras can kind of seem Mythic Legion-y, but I think that Father Christmas just almost seems like a Santa Claus figure, and it doesn't really mesh with Mythic Legion. So I can kind of see where it's like, if we're ranking Christmas figures, that's probably towards the top. But in the realm of your other Mythic Legions, I see how that's lower.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think there's both him and Red Death come with tons of cool stuff. I love the clock with Red Death. That clock is sweet. That's probably my favorite part of it. I think Father Christmas with all the or whatever you want to say, Saint. What is it, Father Christmas? I said Saint.
Yeah, Father Christmas.
You know what I mean. We all know who we're talking about. I like all his stuff he comes with, like the items and the staff and the lantern thing and the gifts. I think those are all really cool, and I use those for other things. And the heads. I think it's cool to put like your Santa Knight going, which maybe we can send you a picture of that so you can throw him up there. So that'll be my bottom two there. Climbing the ladder, we're going to hit a skeleton, and that's going to be Malleus for me. I think Malleus is fine. Not my favorite skeleton. I like his little green pieces are cool. I like the axes are kind of fun. But I don't usually go with like the huge axes and weapons for a lot of my guys. And I think for me, I kind of like the more knight skeleton going on, which I recognize you can do different stuff with him. I feel like he's kind of just pretty standard for me. It didn't blow me away, but I think he does the trick as just another skeleton in your.
Interesting. I really like the like dual wielding axe that he's got going on, but if you're not into the axes, then I understand.
And again, not that I don't like him, just that's where we are with him. I've used his green pieces for other guys, so now I'm recognizing as I'm getting into this world, Dakota, that does affect. Like, it's hard sometimes because it's like maybe I don't like this figure, but I like pieces with it, right? Or not that I don't like it, but the pieces are cooler. So then at that point, I'm like, am I rating the figure or am I rating what I can do with it, right? So it's kind of, I'm sure people have had this debate, and I'm sure you have, and you've been waiting for me to articulate any kind of thought like that. It's like when your son says his first word. So maybe we can talk about that more later. That could be kind of an interesting discussion. But I'm going to hit Malleus with that spot. The next one I'm going to go up to is one that one of the first ones I got is going to be Tibius, actually.
Wow.
Now, it's not that I don't like Tibius. I think Tibius is cool. I think one of my critiques is going to be the cape, and I've talked to you about this. Some of these older capes with the ports in that they kind of start wearing and tearing rather easily. Like, I like Tibius's black cape. I think it's cool, but I'm always super careful with it because, like, anytime I pop and swap it, it starts to fray a little bit more, which kind of brings it down for me because I think he looks sweet with the cape, and especially that cape he's got going on. But that kind of brought it down a little bit for me. But I do like, I like him as a skeleton knight. I like the silver. I think that looks pretty cool too. But like I said, there's a lot of good ones on the list here, so I'm still working my way up. But I like the dual wielding skeleton knight guy with swords. I mean, you can't get cooler than that, in my opinion. So I'm going to hit him there. Do you have any feelings on Tibius? Thoughts on that?
I also don't love Tibius. I mean, I don't love the like painted skull face. It does make him unique, but I disagree with you where I actually love that cape, and it's just a black cape, so like maybe I just love black cape, but
yeah.
And that's another one where it's like the part from him made my Sir Owain one of my favorite figures, where like I didn't really love Sir Owain before, but then I put Tibius's black cape on him and I was like, actually this is one of my favorite knights that I have right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those again where it's like, do I like the figure because of what it is, or do I like the figure for its parts? But I don't. I also like the silver armor on him. So
yeah. Well, maybe for me it's like a price point thing because I got Tibius for like $50, and like I think some places he's cheaper now. I've seen him for like some people sell him for like in the groups and stuff for like $30, which I think he's great for $30. For me, for $50, there's other figures that I think are more in that price point that I think I find a little more like this feels a little more worth $50.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also because like Four Horsemen have just come so far into like if you look at their All-Stars and it's like I could go get, like you said, Tibius actually comes with quite a bit for an All-Star, and that's what he was. But then you get into things like the newer figures, like the knights that are coming, or even some stuff that we have where it's like they're coming with 6 sets of hands and several weapons and soft goods, and there's so much in that box where it's like which one is more worth? It's like I'm gonna go with the new figure.
Yeah. And part of that, too, I mean, we talked about that, too. It's like your experience with it, right? So it's like if someone got a great deal on that and you're like, oh, this is cool, I love it, I recognize there's the timeline of things, too. But I do give Tibius credit for being the one that made me be like, okay, I could see myself getting some more of these. So he does get a shout-out for that. Climbing the ladder, a more recent one for me is going to be Varg, Dakota. And I do like Varg quite a bit. I'm still working on, I know we had a little bit of a discussion on the wing technology, but I think even just as he is, I think Varg is a great little gremlin, ghoulish vampire. I've been getting into the vampires. You'll see that as we move along. I think the idea of the chains are cool. Like you said, I think he makes sense to get a bunch of. I only have one right now, but I could definitely see myself having about 3 Vargs at least in a cool
I think that's
scene.
what I've got.
Right.
I've got 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think he looks pretty cool. There's something very endearing about him, I think, too. He's kind of cute, but also scary.
Yep.
And yeah, I just think he's a fun. I think that one kind of sparks your imagination on like what could this story be, what's going on with this guy. You know, I don't know if he's intended to be like an army or if he is just one dude in the lore. You'd have to tell me that. Or maybe you don't know that. Maybe you do. Maybe I stumped you.
I honestly have never read his bio because I just made up my own story for him.
Right.
So,
but yeah, I think it's a cool idea. So I like him. I'd like to see other little minions more in that vein. Maybe
where is this on your like number? Like what number is he?
Oh, okay. Well, how did we want to count my armory experiences and
you
Furious
can count those
Force
as like the same
each?
bracket.
That's one? Okay.
Same bracket. Yeah.
I think Varg is coming in at 10 then.
Wow, just barely cracking your top 10. That's great because he would probably. I'd have to go back and look, and like if you're asking me now, because you know it all changes. Okay, I got a lot of really good figures, so yeah, maybe he'd be in my top 10 for sure. But he is, like I said, he's the figure I have the most of out of Mythic Legions for sure. Because I think I have 3. Maybe I got an extra one and I have 4. But yeah, I love Varg. He's by far my favorite vampire.
Yeah, I think he's cool. I mean, again, though, I think like, yeah, I'm still got a lot of good ones so far, Dakota. Since I've only really been picking out the ones I really want. You know what I mean? So I think the more time goes on, there might be some that I get that I have that more like, is this one great? I just got them anyways, but I'm trying to be a little more choosy.
Sure.
But yes. So I said 10 then for Vard. So we're in the top 10 now. Okay. Coming in at number 9 for me is going to be Jacob Marley. Now, I do think Jacob Marley is pretty cool. I think the only difficulty is, like, I think you've expressed this too, fitting the figure obscuras into, like, your general Legions display, right? He doesn't quite fit in there. But I think for what he is, you got to appreciate the craftsmanship of the figure. I think the safe is cool. The sculpting's awesome. Those heads are really neat. And a great seasonal Christmas toy for sure. I haven't gotten to the point of like customizing with him or popping and swapping stuff. I know people have and seen some pretty neat stuff. But I think he's a pretty great one. I don't know if you don't have this one, do you?
I do not have this one, no. I didn't really go for any of the literary stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's cool. I think the bonus surprise head was really neat too. But yeah, I think he's a pretty well-made figure, and you can do some cool stuff with him. So I like him. Next, number 8 is going to be, now, this might surprise you, Dakota, but I'm going to put Valak there as my number 8 here.
He was your most wanted, right?
He was my most wanted, and, well, like, when I've been getting back into it, or, like, getting into it, yes. So I did get him recently in a trade. I do really like him. I think part of my critique is going to be, again, similar to my cape frustration, man. Like, I'm getting this cape, and I like it. I don't really like the, like, hand, arm, hole port things. I don't feel like that quite works, at least with his cape, because it looks kind of like it's like going along his arm, and it just looks kind of weird. I would rather just get similar to like Dubon, like it just goes over his neck. And like if he had a wired purple cape, Valak would be like in the top 5, I think. I think I was just a little bummed by the application of the purple cape, figuring out what I want to do. If I want to like get another cape, I've seen people do that, and he looks pretty cool. But I love his parts. I love the head. I love the purple hood. The bird is sweet. He's a really cool figure. I really like him. Maybe if I add some little extra cloth goods, that'll boost him up a little bit more for me. But the black,
I'll be honest,
Ranger
I didn't even know. I didn't even know that he had a cape. I don't think I've ever really seen him displayed. Like I just see him in his like leathers. I don't.
Yeah, see, I want him with the cape, man. Because you can't have the hood without the cape, can you?
Well, okay. I guess maybe that does make sense. I don't know.
I just doesn't look quite right to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why I thought like he's just got a hood for no reason.
I think with the purple cape, he will look amazing. I'm just bummed because I didn't have that I open it, I can display it right the way I want, and it looks cool. It's like I'm gonna have to do a little work. Not to say that that makes him bad. It's just that's where I'm at with Valak right now.
Okay.
One that I did not have to do a lot of work with is going to be my Furious 4 2-pack. It's going to come in next at number 7. So I think this counts as one-ish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this one did get me first into the customizing part just because you got so many interchangeable pieces. You got the different heads, the different weapons, the body parts. So this one I think is pretty great just in general, even if you want it just to add parts to your other guys. There is a whole bunch of cool stuff you can do. I like the weapons it comes with. Gives you a good variety of my red skellies, my animals, a little orc action. Whole bunch of stuff there, some cool capes. So I had gotten, when they did the 2-pack, right? Because they did a 2-pack. And then they did
you got the Legion
ones.
Con exclusive.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm glad I got that. And I like it quite a bit. I think you like this one, right?
Oh, yeah. This is another one that's top of the list. Because when I was doing, I went through each faction and broke it down. I think the Furious 4 2-pack was at the top of my Arethyr faction list because, I mean, I think if you're getting into popping and swapping, red figures are the easiest to do because there's so many of them. And just within this pack, you can pop and swap them, and it's a lot of fun. And it wasn't what got me into popping and swapping, but it was kind of where I was, really, enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good starter for that too, though. For me, it showed me that you could start to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's a great 2-pack. Next one for me is going to be our guy Dubon, which might surprise you, Dakota. But I'm pretty impressed by Dubon. I think, again, I really like the technology of the cape. Makes a lot more sense to me, where you just put it around the neck, port it on, and it being wired. I think is pretty sweet. I would love to get a black cape like that, or like I said, a purple cape, red cape. If I had those would be going on a lot of different figures. I'll tell you that. Which I don't know. Is that kind of like the way they would be doing those moving forward, or is that just kind of trying it out?
There's a lot in the newer Poxus wave like that, Zende. Most of the wizards pretty much have that type of cape where it goes over the neck porthole. And then I'm pretty sure they're all wired too. So. Yeah.
Well, I think with Legions, the wired is the way to go because you could, I mean, there's no better time for an epic billowing cape than in a fantasy battle. So,
True.
And I get it. I think wired capes and cloth stuff is always tough. I'm glad they're trying it. I would much rather have those than plastic capes. So, even the regular ones I get, but I'm excited to see if they continue with that format. Just kind of what that would look like. But again, I like the eagle. I wish his eagle came off of his arm, though, Dakota. It's only on his little arm sleevelet. Same for Valak. I didn't realize that. Not a huge deal. That's okay. But I like, again, Dubon's colors, too. I kind of like getting the Night Ranger thing going on is a fun vibe.
Cool. Yeah. That's one that I actually was a little disappointed on because the promo picture colors looked a little brighter and bluer than what he looks in person. So I was kind of I was much more geared up for the bluer color. So then when he came out, I was like, a little let down. And I knew a lot of people wanted him. So I was like, I'm not going to have quite the same joy of having him as somebody else. So I think I traded him for something else. But it is a lot of people's, one of their favorites. He's probably in most people's top 5s.
Okay. Well, he almost made it to mine. He was close. I think he's pretty cool. Okay, so that is the bottom half, back half, however you want to think of it, Dakota, which brings us into my top 5 Mythic Legions of all time that I own until I get more. So we're going to come in at number 5. I don't know, this one might seem like a little unusual, maybe a bit of a cheat, but I'm going to put the Armory Experience figure that I made. So I had gone with Dakota. We went to Legions Con this year, my first time. And I went through the Armory Experience, made a bit of a red, I think they kind of their blood armor type they talk about. I've heard that term. Kind of thinking of a vampire in my head, sort of going for that Francis Ford Coppola Dracula armor from the 90s movie. And I was very happy with how it turned out. I had a lot of fun building him. And again, I think them doing that, it's a cool figure, but I also think it was cool to get that experience for like, okay, I see the vision for building these and putting them together and swap. And that's when I started being like, oh, I have this skull at home. I can go and put the skull on, or I put the cape on. And after that, that was what got me, Dakota. So it worked.
Yeah.
Because I made one and my wife made one as well, and Sam made more of a like knight with leather armor, which I didn't really see at first, but when she made it, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So I think for both of us, that was kind of fun to see that side of it, but also just get to make your own figure. So I like those ones quite a bit.
Yeah, I think for me, that's my favorite out of your collection, just because I think that was your true gateway into the world of like, and that was another thing too, as I was talking to Savannah, I was like going through the experience with you, because I had already built my knights from the armory experience the night before as a vendor, but then you came and it was pretty dead, like nobody was in there,
right?
But I was a little jealous of like, and I think that this is almost like frowned upon, but like I'm kind of like, let's chill out a little bit, because some people would go in and they're like, I know exactly what arms, legs, heads, they had it planned out, pictures of it or whatever. And you kind of had that like plan, but then as soon as you got there, you like threw your plan straight out the window, and you were like really looking at every single arm, every single head, and like
be like, do these legs go with this torso, or like
right,
torso? Right? Yeah, that was a fun part, I thought.
Because like I felt like when I was going through it, I was feeling a little bit rushed of like, oh, I gotta be fast, but then I got to like watch you actually slow down. You like started over, you went back to this, and you really picked it out. So I was like, that was pretty fun to be a part of. So I was glad I got to watch you build it out. So
you were like, he's taking his first steps.
Yeah, and I think if you had been rushed through it, I don't think it would have been nearly as fun for you. You probably would have got done. You'd have been like, it's good, but what if I had more time? Yeah. So I think that was good, and I think that's good for fans to remember as they're going through, because like maybe somebody's up there holding up the line, but that could be their gateway into Mythic Legions and the community and all that stuff. So like, take your time with some stuff,
Yeah, I think so too, man. Yeah, that was really cool. So I'm glad they did that, and I hope people got to really appreciate that. And I think moving forward, I don't know if they would do that, if that's like a returning thing, you think?
They are.
Or do they know? Okay.
They said it's coming back. They didn't say like if it's going to be exactly the same, and I think that's another episode for us. I would love to kind of give my ideas.
Ooh, right. I love that. Okay. Don't say a word. We'll
okay.
But I could come up with some ideas too.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Okay, so that's going to be my number 5. My number 4 is a recent acquisition, and it is going to be the Gold Knight. Army, is he a Legion builder technically, or no?
Yeah, reinforcement. Yeah, he's a Legion builder.
All right. I think this figure's awesome. If you guys don't have this one, definitely recommend it. I got him. Maybe I especially love him because I got him on the in-stock store Horseman for $26. I mean, this figure blows my mind. It seriously, I mean, compare it to like a Marvel Legend. It is like night and day to be like, what do you get with a Legend for $25, even $30, versus what I get with that figure for $26. The gold just looks so cool. It comes with the alternate heads, the shield technology. I don't know why Legends doesn't use that swivel peg thing. Like, that's so simple. But you can do way more cool stuff with it, and like it's not going to break. And I'm not like, oh my gosh, is this shield going to snap? But the shield looks cool. I think with Legions, for me, I do lean towards probably the more like simple things, just because I do think when they make them more simple, it really showcases like how cool they can make a seemingly simple figure and give it like depth. So yeah, I love this Gold Knight. I'm a huge fan.
Very cool. Yeah, I was surprised when you picked the Gold Knight, because you were kind of putting together your in stock, and I was like, I mean, maybe you'd like the vampire or the kind of orcish looking guy, but you went with the Gold Knight, and I was like, I mean, it's a good figure. I'd like it, but I just didn't see that being your style. But I'm glad you like it so much.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And now, Dakota, I'm going to need my Black Knight. That's on my list here, folks. If you ever find a spanking deal on a Black Knight, you let me know. That's probably my top one I want most next, I'm going to say.
Okay.
But, the Gold Knight, very cool.
Nice.
which brings us into the top 3. Dakota, here we are. Who would have thought? Top 3 coming in at number 3 is going to be the Frankenstein figure obscura. I love this Frankenstein. I mean, whether you're a fan of Frankenstein, literary stuff or not, it is a pretty amazing value in this figure. Have you seen this one in person or no? I don't remember.
Just like on the table at Legions Con and stuff.
Okay, well, you'll have to come
it.
play with my Frankenstein. You know what I mean? So you could. I mean, it is pretty amazing. I think it's one of my bigger scale, but not like a giant figure, which I think is cool. The cloth goods are really cool, like the pants and stuff, the table, all the different pieces you come with. Again, I did a little talk-up, I think, on it a while back, even comparing it to like the NECA Frankenstein and their table and stuff. And I think the value you get with this is pretty incredible. All the different head sculpts. It really, to me, is the most feeling of like I got a play set. Like, remember as a kid, you get like a figure with like the base, like all the different pieces, and you're like, this is the whole thing. For me, that was the most I felt that way. It wasn't just like, oh, I got the figure. It's like I get a whole package deal here. And I was like, for $70, like, yeah, that's a great deal, I think, for that. So, yeah, definitely recommend picking this one up if you have the chance.
And you just have him like Frankenstein right now. You haven't done a lot of pop and swaps with him, right?
No, I haven't. I mean, I really do just like his Frankenstein look. I like him with the pants. I know people made him more of that like kind of naked loincloth thing going on. Maybe at some point, but as of now, I just really like the way he looks. So Sam made a little Halloween display. Maybe we could throw that up here or something. I can send that your way. But yes, really dig Frankenstein.
Very cool.
And now to the top 2. Coming in at number 2, Dakota, is going to be none other than the Skeleton Legion Builder 2. Now, I have 3 of these.
Wow.
And this figure is amazing. Again, I know I talked about simplicity. I think this is perhaps the finest example of that, where literally it's just a skeleton. But I think it is so fun. I mean, he looks cool just really doing anything. I like all the different kind of hands you get. I think they pose really well. They look good, and whether you're doing Legions or not, like just as standalone skeletons, I don't think there's a better skeleton on the market. You couldn't convince me. I know people post like those Storm collectible things, but this is like my perfect skeleton. And despite the fact that I snapped one's neck off, even with it broken, I still like it. So, yeah, I'm just a big fan. Huge fan of these skeletons. I'd probably take more. I know there's that super pack, but I'd almost like more of the regulars, but I know those are more expensive now, so maybe at some point I'll acquire more.
Yeah, I could see them redoing them again or something. I mean, you got the Maxilius coming, so that's another, bear skeleton type. And
that's true. Yeah.
And you could probably just buy a bunch of those and sell the soft goods, and it'd probably be a similar price. But that's
surprising to you, Dakota.
It's surprising only because I know now what your number 1 is, and I would have thought that it would be something else. So here we go. Number 1.
Number 1 is going to be the Deluxe Skeleton Legion Builder, which was this my first one that I bought?
Yes, I think it
was. It was, and it still holds a very special place in my heart. And I'm gonna continue with that because, again, for it being the price point it is, I think is pretty incredible, and that it is still at that price point. So, of course, there's going to be some nostalgia here, Dakota. I got him, and I thought he's cool, but I think it's just like, it's another one of those figures for me that, like, I could put him in any position, and I'm like, this guy looks so cool. And, again, I think you could get him when he's in stock for, like, $26, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Or is he?
Yeah.
Right, which I've been tempted. He's one of those ones that when I see him, I'm like, I feel like I should just buy this just because, I don't know. Again, for me, for $26, that is an amazing value. Like you get a good amount of stuff. You get your skeleton. I'm just a big fan of the jaw with the like hood visor thing. I think it looks so sweet. People are probably going to say I'm nuts for this, but
probably.
Yeah, he's They probably will. But I think that's what I think about a lot too. It's like, for me, what I put in versus what it's like, what this is just as it is. And maybe as I go along more, the popping and swapping, the switching stuff, I don't think you're going to do as much of this with this skeleton. But I think right out of the box, it's probably one of my favorite Legions that is just so cool as is, along with the second skeleton builder that I also love.
Very cool. Well, there you have it, folks. There's Jordan's top to bottom ranking of all of his Mythic Legions that he has so far. Make sure you enter the giveaway and let Jordan know what his next figure should be. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay strong.